Abhishek is a software engineer at Essentia Software in India and primarily works on Python. He is also an active community contributor in dev community like GDG's Python user groups across India and one of the organizers of PyCon India. His goal is to make the dev community, especially the Python community, more diverse and inclusive across the globe. Now I will hand over the floor to Abhishek.
Thank you so much for the introduction. That was like a brief intro about myself. So I hope everyone is doing well. Everyone is safe. And apart from that, thanks. I would like to say thanks to PyCon APAC organizers for giving me this opportunity. And today I'm going to talk about Celery. Just don't go by the name itself, the title, but it's going to be a beginner-friendly introduction where I'll be showing you a little bit of slides where you can understand what exactly task queue is and how Celery helps you understand in the task queue, how you can do asynchronous task execution. And I'll show you two code examples. So the first, I will show you how to actually understand the basic Celery task execution with respect to Python functions. And another example is like completely a demo example where I have written a very small script to send an email asynchronously using Celery. So right now I'm gonna share my screen. So the first part will be about task queues and Celeries. So there will be a very small presentation, and after that I'll jump in the demo part, the code part. So yeah, Celery is digestive. I mean, I had no other title to give it, but usually when we hear about celery, it's just a vegetable and then we use it for a purpose. So by the name itself, I'm not sure why exactly they named this framework celery, but I mean, according to my instinct and then my understanding, this might be like, multi-threaded thing, actual vegetable. That's why probably. So of course, I'm not going to talk about food today. It's going to be a complete on Celery as a task worker. So this is like a brief agenda, I would say, that I'm going to talk about a little bit about myself. Then I'll be talking about task queue, what exactly task queue is, and then what is Celery and why to use Celery, and how Celery task execution process work, how the mapping, in general layman terms, what exactly happens behind the scene once you execute a task in Celery, and then what are the different supported by for the Celery support for the Celery, and then how do you choose the broker, how do you do task execution, and then there are different approaches of using Celery in application. I'll just show you that as well, and then at the end I'll show you the demo, and after that there are some resources, some tips that you can use to make Celery more production familiar or like with the best practices, and then like the conclusion why we should actually use it. So before starting, hi everyone. My name is Abhishek. I'm software engineer at Essentia Softsurf, and I'm a Python developer, and that's my always go-to language. And I've been doing Python since my college time, so it's been almost like 5 to 6 years I've been doing Python, and I always love to be around in community. I also run few developer community across India, and I'm also a part of PyCon India conference and different Python user groups across India. I also actively participate in developer community and try to be more inclusive and try to make communities more inclusive in terms of diversity. And of course, I'm not a 10x engineer. If you don't know what exactly 10x engineer is, you can go to Twitter and then find the thread. So, and if you would like to connect with me over social media, or if you need any help related to community work or in general in Python, or if you would like to collaborate with me in some sort of projects, open source project or some free project, I'm available. So you can connect me over Twitter by the name of Stalwart Coder, and also on LinkedIn with the same username. So to get started with task queues, as name suggests, like basically task queues are basically a system. You would say a methodology in which you execute the task in parallel. Okay, just think of a multi-threaded system, okay, but task in general. And of course, so task queues basically manage your background works, outside the normal HTTP request cycle. So for example, if you are using a Flask application, and whenever you hit an API, that's a normal, HTTP request response cycle of within the Flask context. whereas in the task queue can be executed out of that typical HTTP request response cycle. So just to give you an example, yeah, so before that, I mean, of course, so a small set of code which is independent and decoupled from the main application logic will be act as a unit of work for a task. So basically a task is nothing but a small piece of code that you want to execute separately behind the scene in background, apart from a typical request response cycle. So just to give an example, you can assume like there is a web application, okay, web polling application, which actually hits the API every 10 minutes to collect the name of top 10 or top 20 cryptocurrencies. Okay, and then the task would be handling your code API. Whatever result the API gives, it will store in the DB. So it depends on use case if you want to store the result or not, or you just want to just execute the code. So there are different use cases. I'll also explain like how I used it in my own projects. So then question comes, why do you exactly need a task queue? So there are a lot of examples I would say task queue is required. So there are some useful, de facto, I would say situations or what do I say, like the mechanism or in the use cases where you can use task queues, not only Celery. So basically, if your application takes more than few seconds to generate the response, so for example, you consider a Django app or a Flask app, you always render the template. And if the template data or the value that you want to show in the HTML file in the front end to the user, and that is taking a lot time in loading itself, right? So that time you did a asynchronous API call. So either you can use jQuery or something like that. But if it is an API, that is fine. Either you store the data in the model in the database model, and then you cache from there instead of waiting for API response. Because unless and until you don't get the data on the template, your template will not render. So it's a dependency, right? And your template will take a long time unless the particular code has been executed. So this is one example. Of course, you can use Ajax, but I will tell you why you should not use Ajax in this specific scenario. And the second part is if you run a lot of cron jobs, background jobs or batches to process the data, then that time also you can use task queues. And if you wish to execute your application data in distributed manner, so for example, there's an application, okay, web portal for a job seeker, right? And then you have an app which generates PDF files for their resume. So they fill the data, and the moment they save it, you automatically want to store the data in DB, and the same data you want to use to generate a PDF for the resume, right? So that you can use during that time as well. So distributed computing over a data, if you want to do that also, that time task queues are very handful. Or of course, or if you want to do asynchronous DB update. So if there are, if you're using third-party API and your data is dependent on third-party API and you want to store that data into the DB, or if you want to asynchronously update the DB, you can use task queue for that as well. So to give a basic example, what exactly task queue and how they work. So consider this as an application client, okay, let's say a Flask app, which sends a task. Okay, so I am sending a request. Let's say I'm sending my details, okay, my profile detail and all. So this client sends the task to a broker. There usually has to be a broker, and then broker decides the number of workers. So the responsibility of broker is to distribute the task among the workers. So broker creates a different number of workers which will take care of each task. Okay. And there can be a coupling between tasks as well. Tasks can be dependent on each other as well. So worker can wait for another task to wait and then start it. So this is a very basic example of how task queue system works. And wait, and then if you think, you will say, hey, this is exactly sounds like asynchronous, and I have heard this before as well. So yes, Ajax exactly works the same way, but we will see how Ajax is different as compared to queue. Basically, in Ajax, what you will do is you just send an API request which will execute in asynchronous way, and then you'll wait for a result, it will pop up. But the need of queue is basically if you want to store and if you want to utilize the data, Okay, then at that time you might use queue so that you have a persistent storage or in persistent storage that can be eventually stored in the DB. So there are different projects for task queue. You have a Redis queue, then you have a Taskmaster U, UJEC, a Drum queue, and then there's a Django Carrot task queue, and then Celery. So today we'll be mostly focusing on the Celery, which is asynchronous task queue execution framework in Python. And there are a lot of. So let's talk about Celery. So Celery is, as I told you earlier, is an asynchronous task queue based on distributed messaging paths. Okay, so you can consider it as a combination of MQTT protocol where you actually subscribe to some topic. So it can work in that way as well. And basically, it is more focused towards the real-time operation and scheduling as compared to, normally if you do time.sleep and then execute the function. And task can execute asynchronously in background and synchronously as well. And you have a multiple broker support. So in Celery, basically the key concepts are your broker and the worker. Basically, the persistent DB, the database or the memory cache where your task will be stored, that will be taken care of broker, and then the workers are the instances which take care of executing your task. And if Celery is basically a de facto standard in Python, a lot of people use it. And now you'll ask a question, why should I use it? And I'm going a little bit fast because I want to show you the demo so that you get a proper understanding of the basic Celery part. So it's very simple to get started. You just do pip install Celery, and then you'll say, hey, from Celery import Celery. Then you will create a Celery app basically, and then where the first parameter talks about what is the task name that you want to execute and the broker. So broker, I'll talk in the next slide what exactly the broker is. It can be RabbitMQ, MQT, and it can be Redis, whatever you want. And then this is how you execute the Celery worker. You say Celery -a and then the task name and the worker and then the log level you want. So I'll show you this example. I have the demo as well. And then these are the few features if you use Celery that might help you in maximizing your multiple task queue execution processes. So it is smoother in user experience. You can actually limit your rate, timeout, how much time you should give to a particular task to execute, dependency between two tasks. So for example, task B should be executed only once the task A is done. So those type of coupling also you can do it. And then Celery also supports webhooks and then task routing, and then you can do a periodic task as well. Then you can reroute the task. And apart from that, it has a lot of features of logging and other stuff. And of course, it has amazing documentation. So if you want to get started with Celery, you don't have to go through all, you don't have to crawl the web. You can directly go to Celery documentation, and it's very easy to understand. I'm going to skip this slide because it just says like what are the different supports are there for Celery. So you have a Django Flask and other stuff. Coming to Celery architecture, this is a very simple architecture where your client sends a request to a broker. Broker maintains the task queue. Your task will be, basically arranged in a queue. Okay, the broker takes care of this everything. So if you are using RabbitMQ, if you are using Redis, they will take care of the task queue management, depending on their internal algorithm. Okay, and then this broker will be responsible for distributing the tasks. So if you remember, initial slide I showed the minion diagrams where how broker assign the worker the task. So once the worker has executed its task, okay, distributed task, if you want to store the data, if you want to store the result of that task queue, you can store that in a DB again. And this is how the process works. So if you see here, I have explained like if there are dependency between two tasks, you can just execute one task, store in the result storage, then again get the result task and execute another task, and then send it to broker. So this cycle, this is how it works. It's very easy to understand. So and then now looking into how do you use Celery? So first of all, you need a Celery. Second, you need a broker. So broker can be, you can use RabbitMQ and Redis, or AWS SQS. Even you can host your own RabbitMQ on Heroku and stuff like that. And if you want to store the data, or if you want to store the result, you need a persistent DB, right? So it can be SQLite, and also you can use in Redis as well, if you want it to be a very short period of time. So The question might also come like, how do I select the broker? Whether I should go for a Redis, or whether I should go for RabbitMQ, or whether I should go for another sort of broker. So it completely depends on what sort of use case you want. So if you go to this documentation of Celery, they have basically given 3 to 4 broker examples, and then in which use cases you can use which one. So here is a very small short snip where if you use RabbitMQ, it's stable for Celery, and then you can monitor your task, which tasks are getting executed in backend, okay, and then whether you can take a remote control or not. And Celery by default also gives you an optional, feature of monitoring the entire task process that is happening in background and the foreground. So there's something called Flower. You can just install it with a Celery plugin, and then you can use it. So in today's example, I'm not going to show about the monitoring and all stuff because it's like a very basic introduction to task queue and the Celery. So I'll show you a very quick demo, and after that, we'll move it to another slide. So let me take a very basic example. I'll write the code from scratch. New file. And before going there, I would suggest you to, I'll share the GitHub URL where we have. So this is the URL. So whatever code I'm going to explain to you all, okay, and whatever demo I'm going to show you, it's available in this repo. So you can just go ahead and clone that. Before starting the demo, I would suggest you to, there are 2 folders. So in main repository, I have, basically added a Flask application. So you can just follow these steps quickly if you want to try along with me. So you need, I'm using Redis for my demo, so you can use any broker. But I would suggest if you want to try this code, use Redis and create a virtual environment. And there's a requirement.txt file. You can just install those requirements. And then once you are done with that, you can just follow other quick steps that I have mentioned here. So this thing is not belonging to sample Celery example. Right now, I'm going to show you how, in general, Celery works. Okay. So I have already pasted it. You can try it at home as well. So if I go here, I'll say from Celery, import Celery. And so I'll create a very basic function where the entire object of, objective of the function is to return the current date type. So let's say I'll say from date time import. And also import time. I'll tell you why. Now I'll say app is equal to Celery, and then here you can define. So if you see the signature, it says you can name your task name. You can give the broker name, and then likewise. So here I'll give a task name as, let's say, task. And then I'll say I have a broker, which is that is. Before going there, I would ask you to just check whether you already have a Redis installed or not. So depending on your system, you can just install the Redis. I already have a Redis installed, so I'm just checking here. So if you see here, it's running properly. So and then you have to so the broker URL will be the actual Redis URL where it is running. Okay. So I'm just closing this at this moment, and I'll also show you the result how to get that. So I'm just copying the URL here. I mean, I'm just being lazy of typing, so I'm just copying pasting it. So basically, this is the local host. This is the URL of a domain, I would say, where that Redis is running. And if you see here, if you know how Redis works, so by default, when you use Celery and then Redis as a broker, by default, it gives a 0 at the end, which defines the database number, which is the index of the database. So 0 always comes by default there. So I've created one Celery application. Now I will create one function which will say get time, okay, and then I'll say I'll also print and I'll also return. So I'll say get time.now .strf, and I would say okay, I need year and month, and I need a day. Okay. So just for a timing, and then you can also define if you want to do hours, minutes, and seconds. Fine. Now I'll say I'll just copy the same code and I'll just return it. Just for a testing purpose, I'm just doing right now. So I'll do return and then this thing. Okay. So now first let's ignore this line. Just forget it. I have written something like that. So I have written a very basic function where this what it does is it gives you the current time, right? So if I do Python and also mind that so if you see here, I have already created a virtual environment, and then steps to create virtual environment is already mentioned in the repo. Okay, so you can just go ahead and then create a new virtual environment. I can show you how to do it. I usually do it like this: create a virtual environment like this, and then this is how you basically activate the virtual environment. Then the moment you do this, you will get something like this. So basically, this is my current virtual environment where I'm writing this code. So this code is done. It's a very basic function which returns the current date time. So I'll say Python. I'll just show you how to do it. Prompts Celery test to import get time. Right. And then if I call this function get time, okay, I guess I did something wrong here. I guess I forgot the syntax. Shouldn't be like that. Oh, so it should be like this. Once again, my bad. So basically, it's very in general function which returns the current date time. Now, if you want to use Celery on this function, how do you do that? Correct. So, let me just see if there is anything in the group. Yeah. That was right. That was my bad. So I'm just disabling this one. Now, if you want to use Celery, if you want this function to execute asynchronously in terms of task queue, this is how you do it. So you define an app which is basically an object or app for a Celery class, and you give a task name. I have given very engineer task name, and then the broker URL. So broker is basically you are supposed to install in your system. It can be Redis or RabbitMQ as well. And once you are done with that, so whichever function or whichever task you want to execute asynchronously, you have to use a decorator from the Celery itself. So which is called as app.task. Okay, and you can also give name here, like, or you can pass the argument and all. So right now I'm not doing that, so I'm just using this decorator, and I'll show you here how it looks like. Right, 1 minute. Now if I have to use in terms of Celery, so here is how it works. So I am opening another terminal, okay, and sorry, this is how you do it. There's a command called Celery. Then you put, I mean, I have auto suggestion, so it's coming by default. Basically, you can give the task name itself, or else you can just say file name dot task. So I can also say Celery underscore test 2, and then the Celery or probably the app. Okay. And the easiest way of doing it, instead of if you don't want to call the module itself, you can just define the task name itself. I'll say -a. So basically, I just given a module name, file name, dot the app name. That's all. So if you see here, it says connected to Redis localhost this, which is nothing but a broker, and it says when the Celery has started. Okay, so it's on my local system. This is my username, and then it says ready. If I come back here again, if I say Python, and then if I say, oh no, this one. S2 import get time, and it's now if I do, now if you want to execute this method as a task queue, then you don't normally call it. There is a method called delay. So whichever function you want to execute as a task, you have to get that name. You'll say get time, then you'll put the delay parameter here. So basically Celery will now execute this function, so there is always a default way you call the function, but then when you want to execute in terms of task, you do it like this. You give the function name and then dot delay. And then if I do enter here, and if I go here, see this, now it says, I'll just put it up. So it says received the task, Celery task do dot get time, and then the blob area, and then task ID or the metadata that Celery by defaults provides you. And then once the task is executed, it gives you a time stuff of that as well. And see here, it says succeed in 0.11, and it also returns the output or the result that you get from your function. Okay, so right now I'm just stopping it, and if you want to go here, it has returned a async result, right? So there are two ways. Now this is like we executed one function which executed on Celery, received the task and executed it. But what next? If you want to store this data, if you want to store this, okay, whatever this function is returning, if you want to store this, then you need a backend. So you need a database where you store that, correct? So there is an option of parameter in the celery itself where you can say, hey, this is a backend. And at this moment, I'm using Redis, but it is not really required. You can use SQL, SQLDB, Postgres, RabbitMQ, whatever you want. So for a demo purpose, I'm using Redis again so that it stores in the backend. So now we will see how to get the result. So now we saw that this is how you get the execute the normal asynchronous function in terms of celery, correct? Now let me just clear the screen. So now I added a backend, and then again I will execute this, and then I'll store the result in the DB. I'll show you how it looks like. So it's the same process. I mean, I imported the time. Now this time what I'm doing is I'll do res is equal to get time, okay, and this will return me something, right? I'll say get time dot delay. And apart from that, let me just put time dot slip here so that I'll show you how exactly this was. I'll say 7 seconds. So it will enter in the function, it will wait for 7 seconds, so that meanwhile I can show you what happens on the behind. So if I need to execute, I'm just trying to be noob so that whoever is doing very first time also it makes sense to them. Again Python, and then again I'm importing the same thing. Now I'll do res is equal to get underscore time dot delay. Now you see what happens. If I do res dot status, it will show the pending. I'll tell you why it's showing the pending. Now if you go to celery here, it says task received, okay, but it wasn't executed. That's why it's showing result as a result status as pending. And if I do again, okay, it's still pending because there is a delay of 7 seconds. Correct. I have added a delay here. So right now also it's showing the same thing. But it says it's executed. Why is it pending? It's still showing pending. How is that possible? Res.get, it will actually gives you the result whatever the queue has executed. Let me just, I guess I did some mistake here. Let me just restart the celery again and then see it. Let's start it again. And I'm just showing very basic example. I have written a small code as well where you send the email to through the Flask mail extension. So I think I go here again, then I get the result is equal to get time dot delay. So basically, it should wait for 7 seconds, and if you go here, the task has been received here, and then after 7 seconds, it should be executed. So now if I do res.status, I'm not sure why it's now it's success because it has been successfully executed here, and then result is here we have. Now if you want to get the result from the task, it's just a simple. We just do res.get because it's a dictionary that it provides, and here you go to the result. Now, if you want to cross-check where this result is, so since we have mentioned in the backend in the Redis, I can actually go to Redis and check which key value pair it has stored in. So quickly, I'll show you. Let me do quit. If you see here, there's something called 0, right? So basically, it's a Redis database index. So I'll connect to the same index. I'll say Redis CLI, and then I'll say select 0. So it will select that particular DB, and then after that, I'll just see where what are the data I have got from this task. So I executed so many tasks here, right? So, and these are the keys that by default been created in the Redis. So your data is actually stored in the Redis. This is completely vague. You can actually formalize, you can configure your Celery in that way that you store your result in a proper keyway format. You can actually store your result in models as well, in Django or in Flask. So if I do get, and then let me just copy any so if you see, it gives you all the details. This is success and what is the result, okay? And then this is the same function that we wrote, which returns the current data, correct? So it's working completely fine. So till now, if you have any doubt, you can just ask me, or else I'll proceed with the another demo. So this is like a very basic, very simple example of how you can use Celery. So as I mentioned, you can use very small sort of code which you want to execute separately in asynchronous mode. Sure, I'll go with the next demo. So this is a very basic, simple that we know how to do it. Then another demo that I'm going to talk about is this project where, okay, let me just open it. I have shared already this URL. So if you want to try, you can do it along with me. So here is the app. So it's a very basic app, a Flask application that I made, which actually sends. I'll run it and show you. This is very basic, simple app where you take a email ID from a user and then you send it. So as I told you, you can also execute a periodic task in Celery again, and then immediate asynchronous task. So in this example, I'm going to show you how you can send a simple email immediately, and one after a few seconds or 1 minute, depends. So I'll show the demo. Let me first jump into the code and then explain what exactly I'm doing here. So these are the very basic configuration that Flask required for this app. And I'm using a mail extension of a Flask, which is basically built on top of SMTP library, which allows you to send any email through Flask application. Okay. So just like app, I have initialized a very basic Flask app and then all this configuration. So if you see, I have enabled mail server as Google email and then the port on which it runs. Then this is all mail server configuration and then mail username and then password. So I have already exported my mail username and password in environment variable, and you are supposed to do the same. And I would suggest you can just follow the steps which are mentioned in the GitHub repo, and then you can see the immediate response. And then the Celery broker URL, I'm using Redis again here, and then the backend result itself. And I'm initializing extension here, the mail, basically the mail app that we configured above. And the second phase we'll initialize the Celery. So same thing, Celery app.name and then the broker from the config. And then you say, hey, update the Celery config with whatever the app config we have assigned for the Flask. So now here I have one function which is responsible for sending an email asynchronously. Okay, so I have named a function called send async email. You get the email data. So email data is nothing but the whatever data email ID you want to get from the user, and the sender email ID from the config, and then the recipient name again from the config, from wherever you, not from the config, from the user input. And then you say with app.context, you send an email. So this code is responsible for taking user input to whom you want to send the email, get the detail from the config file, and then send an email. That's all. So now I want to execute this method or this particular function in Celery. So in Flask, I created default route, okay, where if you go to index page, it will execute this view method that you got in Django, or a normal index function here in terms of Flask. So if I say if request is equal to get, I'll render this template, of course, and then there is a form, and you get the email data basically from the session. And then this is the email body that you will send to an email, okay? And this email data will be sent to this function, which is responsible for sending an asynchronous email. So the moment you do click on submit and it's equal to send, what I'm doing is I'm basically executing this method, which is defined here, okay? So if you click on send directly, it will send the immediate email. And if you want to send it after a few minutes or few seconds, so for a moment, I have mentioned it as a 20-second, and I can do 10 seconds as well. There is one more method called apply async, which will again execute this function in asynchronous mode. But on addition to that, you can actually pass the argument, whichever data you want to pass to a broker and the worker supposed to work on. And then the countdown time is basically after how many seconds or minutes you have to execute this. And then this basically returns, hey, I'm sending this email, and then redirect, again, it will redirect you to the indexed route. So this is a very basic example, and I'll show you how it works. So before so our app is already running, and as mentioned earlier, we are supposed to run the Celery worker. So again here, Celery worker -a, and then your module name, which is app.py. So I have written app, and then the actual Celery app name. So you'll say app.celery, and then logging info, you want to do it. And I will tell you one more thing. Once this demo is done, I'll explain you how periodic task as well works. So it had started again, just like our previous example. Now, if I go here, and so this is the by default email ID that I have put in here from the cache. So I'll say send. So it's saying sending email to this particular email ID. Now let's see whether we have received the task or not. So if you see here, it has received the task, okay. And once it will execute it, depending on the SMTP library that it takes time, it will return you all this detail. It is executed and succeed in the 14 seconds. Milliseconds. So now if I go to my email inbox, I can just check whether I have received the email or not. Since my internet is little slow. So if you see here, I got an email by the subject name, hello Flask or Celery, and then the content that I written in the program. So this is the same thing that we just wrote in our example here. Email data, the subject is this, and then the body is this. But this executed in this manner. Now let's test another functionality of sending it through, after waiting for 20 seconds. So on this button, I have written 1 minute, but since we are very limited on time, I will send this on 20 seconds. So this time, this particular method will call send async.email, and then on that method, it will apply async decorator behind the scene basically, and then it will take this data, and then countdown time is equal to 10 seconds. So let me execute this here. Now I'll say send in 1 minute. So it says an email will be sent to Abhishek Mishra in 1 minute. And we have received this task again here. So let's wait for 10 seconds and then see whether the task is getting executed or not. And this is not a periodic task how you run it. It's just the normal task. I have just applied async method on top of that. If you wanna run periodic task, I'll tell you how that works. So this celery says, okay, task has been executed. Now, if I go to my mailbox again, I should have received one more email. Okay, here we go. So this email says, okay, same content because I have used the same thing. So if you see, you can do a normal task execution immediately also, and you can do over a time if you want to do a delay, and then you can do that also. So this is the very basic demo of how you can incorporate your celery in your application. And I'll also show you there's something called celery beat. So if you want to execute, if you want to do periodic task execution, for example, you have a list of EC2 instances on your AWS cloud infra, okay? And you want to get the list of all those EC2 instances, and if you want to check which EC2 instances are stopped, and if you want to terminate them, okay? But you want to do that in every second, every 10 seconds, or let's say every minute, okay? So basically, for this kind of use cases, you will create a periodic task in Celery, which will execute that method in every 10 minutes or 1 minute, depending on your use case. And it will get you all those detail, and then you can store that into an DB. So I'll give you a real life example where I have used periodic tasks. So I have used it in the Django application where I was monitoring the state of all the EC2 instances of AWS. And there was a live dashboard where it displays the current status of all EC2 instances. But as I mentioned earlier, in template, if you hit API directly, template rendering will be on hold unless it gets the data from the endpoint. Because Celery task might get some time also in execution. So you can set timeout also. But for caching mechanism, I used a DB model, Django models, where I run this periodic task in Celery, and then this Celery task will store the current status of all EC2 instance into a Django model, and from that model, this API endpoint will get the latest state and show it on the dashboard. So this way you can use periodic task as well. And if you want to generate, let's say, PDF files and send it over email, just a very basic example I'm giving. So at that time also you can run the periodic task or the cron jobs you can do. So that's all from the demo perspective. Again, I'm stretching on the point. If you want to execute and see very basic example how to do it, you can go to this URL I have pasted in the chat, and you can proceed with that. So this is the basic example. And then coming back to my slides, I'm not going to take more than 5 minutes because we are running out of time. So the simple approach of using Celery, you can divide into, like how exactly you want to use. You can do a very simple setup by having one queue and one worker. Or if you have a large setup, if you want to do multiple data processing, you can have a multiple queues and a dedicated worker and on the concurrency pattern. So in Celery, you can also define, for example, if you are doing a periodic task, you can also define number of workers that you want to, define. By default, Celery gives you a number of workers equivalent to the CPU cores that you have in your system. So by default, it's that. But you can change that also. To read more about how you can set up the entire thing, you can go to Celery read docs. I have mentioned the URL here. I'll send you this slide URL as well. Let me just give you a few quick tips how to do it. So start simple, and of course, I would suggest start monitoring the results, whether you're getting it properly or not, and monitor it. So there are different plugins available with the Celery. The one of the famous one is called Flower. You can just install with the pip, and you can plug in with the Celery, and you can see all those graphs. I can show you over a web. And yeah, these are some very basic, I would say, software engineering paradigms that we do in distributed programming. So you can just follow this. You can try concurrency over task and replace your own cron jobs. And these are the few URLs that are really amazing to follow the best practices. I have been following them as well so far. So you can have a look into them. And to get started, these are the best resources, I would say. Just go to Celery project docs and then their GitHub repo to follow along with that. And so yeah, so the overall conclusion is basically take your slow task, which takes a lot of time. I would say task in terms of function of methods. Decouple it from actual main business logic where it can execute in a parallel, run it asynchronously, and the most important part is don't use it for everything. It's not a magic wand. So thank you so much, and I am done for this. I'm open for the questions. Would you suggest any tool? Yes. So if you wanna monitor the entire task queue, and if you're using Celery, Flower is the best plugin. Let me just share my screen again. I can show you how you can work on that. So if you go to Celery documentation, okay, 1 second. If you go to Celery documentation, this user guide has everything, and there will be something called monitoring. 1 second. If you go to monitoring and management guide, so they have something called Flower, which gives you real-time Celery web monitoring. I can show you they must have a screenshot and all. So this is how it looks like. So whatever task or workers you execute, okay, the Celery executes, it gives you real-time updates and the status of all those tasks. So you can use Celery Flower, which is a plugin on top of Celery. Go to repo and then start doing it. I know it was, the entire session was set to be a very beginner friendly, so I did not execute a lot of stuff, and I'm also not a very expert in Celery. I recently encountered it. I was doing one project and then I thought, okay, why not to submit or do a talk on the Celery, because it is really helpful. So I'm still experimenting along with it. There are a lot of things, like Celery is very vast as well. I mean, you can reroute your task and then you can do a dependency management on your task as well. So there are a lot of things. Go to documentation. It's very huge. You can check that. So thank you again.